Okay, if you're not already following Girlboss on Instagram, what are you doing? It's basically a group chat you wish you had at work. No bullshit career advice, tons of unhinged workplace memes, the latest hot jobs, and conversations about cool women who are absolutely killing it in their careers. And yes, they do giveaways too. So go follow Girlboss at Girlboss. You won't regret it.
And it was in a matter of 24 hours that I had lost the right to use my own birth name. I couldn't use it in any business or commerce or even to publicly identify. I was under what amounts to be a 7-year unpaid non-compete. And then I had to hand over all my personal passwords for every social media account that I had.
You had grown.
With my name on it.
Welcome to Ambition 2.0, the podcast from Girlboss, where we explore what it really takes and costs to have it all in work, life, family, identity, and self. We're calling in from a new place. We're not in a traditional podcast studio. We are actually at Founders Weekend here at Entreprenistas, and we are in Palm Beach, Florida. And I am so excited about today's guest. So I'm going to give a quick little backstory. Today's guest is designer and TV personality, Hayley Paige. Hayley and I have crossed paths for the last 15 years. I was in the wedding industry for over a decade, and you have been for longer. So at just 25 years old, Hayley signed her first major design contract and went on to generate over $220 million in bridal sales, dress more than 10,000 brides, and become a fan favorite on TLC's Say Yes to the Dress. But years later, she found herself in a legal battle over the rights to her own name and work. She almost lost it all over a contract dispute. So now, after 5 years away, Hayley has reclaimed her name, made an incredible comeback to the industry she loves most. So today we're going to be talking about what happens when your dream job turns into a legal nightmare, how to protect yourself when signing contracts, and what it really takes to build your career and your identity from the ground up. So Hayley, welcome to Ambition 2.0.
Thanks. I'm so glad to be here.
So we start the interview with the same question every time, but what does ambition mean to you and how has it evolved for you personally?
I feel like it looks like compounding on things that are working well for you. It used to be something more milestone based and more visibility, more attention, more growth. And now it's really such a personal thing. And it looks like calming the noise so that I can focus on where my strengths are and just compound on those things so that it's delivering a bigger return for me.
I love that. Let's go back to the beginning for people who don't know your story. First, what did your career look like before becoming a bridal designer?
I actually got into high fashion right out of college.
Okay.
And so it's always been a huge dream to be specifically in bridal wear. And I've been lucky to kind of have this passion throughout my whole life, childhood education, industry experience. I did work at a house of brands called Priscilla of Boston prior to launching Hayley Paige. And that experience was really solidifying in terms of understanding my own aesthetic as a designer, and that I got the confidence there to feel like I had my own point of view, which I think was really a big stepping stone for anybody looking to kind of ringlead their own collection.
So you signed your first big contract at the age of 25. And I think about what I knew at 25, and it was a lot for me personally.
Same girl, same.
So what do you remember about that moment specifically?
I remember just feeling so excited to have an opportunity.
Yeah.
And it really kind of starts and ends with that. I felt like your proximity to opportunity required compromise. And I think maybe it's a bit of a learning lesson over the years in trusting your credibility and really wanting to be good at your craft. And so you become almost pigeonholed in your mindset of this is what I know. I don't know all these other things. So maybe the adults in the room will handle it. You almost misrepresent the opportunity for safety.
I've learned a lot of lessons in my career about, I think that person's going to know that. So they're looking out for that. Like, oh, you're a lawyer, so you're definitely looking out for me, right? And yeah. So at what point did you feel like it was you had hit it? You like it was your moment, and like what did success look like to you then?
Success definitely came in the form of high visibility, really, for me, especially in my first chapter as a designer, because I experienced growth over time, but there were some pretty big moments as a designer where, we had this dress go viral, and then I felt like I had this really unique aesthetic that no one else was really addressing, and I was on a television show, and then my Instagram was growing, and so there were these points you can really think about in terms of, wow, like this is really happening, and it's always so exciting. But I would say now that I've kind of been on the journey I've been on, I don't really feel like I've made it. I feel like I am just in motion.
So, for those that don't know the full story, can you walk us through what happened with the naming rights?
So it involved a contract that I had signed at 25, which I didn't fully understand, and I didn't have a lawyer when I signed it. But my whole objective was just to get out there and get to work. And I did feel I was of the mindset that if I provided enough value, anything could be negotiable. And I think that's obviously a false way of thinking and going into something and really starting at a negative or a deficit in a situation like that. But, I got right to work, and there was a huge chapter of just really amazing moments and growth in a brand. And the contract that I had signed was long term. And so when it was coming to an end, it was a chance to negotiate. And so that was the first time I was really coming to the table with lawyers. And I had already gotten so far in my business, and I had taken on a lot of responsibility, and things had happened that had fallen well outside that original contract. And so there was just so many circumstances to address. And the real issue is that once you're in a scenario where you're operating at a certain degree, you set your own precedent. And so there's a huge delta in what I was hoping to get out of a renegotiation. And then, of course, on the counterpart. And so that just created a huge dispute. It led to a big period of attempting to negotiate, but ultimately I was sued in federal court for a magnitude of things.
Well, let's go back to the day to day. So how did the restrictions of the contract actually start to affect your day to day work and life?
What's really interesting is I actually didn't come to terms with my contract and how it was being interpreted until the judge made a ruling in the very first hearing. And it was in a matter of 24 hours that I had lost the right to use my own birth name. I couldn't use it in any business or commerce or even to publicly identify. I was under what amounts to be a 7-year unpaid non-compete. And then I had to hand over all my personal passwords for every social media account that
you had grown
with my name on it. And so it was this kind of trifecta of things, but it was pretty shocking because after attempting to kind of understand what I had gotten myself into almost 10 years prior, I was using my name freely. I was growing a business. There was a lot of really great things happening.
Wow.
And so there was this huge juxtaposition in all of a sudden understanding, whoa, like the extremity of it. And that's what I think made the whole situation so entertaining and also hard to really wrap your brain around how this could have happened if so much had actually gone well.
You testified in front of Congress. And at what point do you feel like you realized that this was bigger than just you, that you could help educate women on what is happening?
I felt a little victimized in moments of my journey. And how can you not when circumstances are just not, working out in your favor? But I've never been somebody that really operates from a place of victimhood because so much of my work has been about serving women and like that connection to them and feeling this like amazing responsibility to be a part of somebody's day in this way. And that is something that mindset has really helped me through moments in life. And when I was going through this really dark period, I still had this incredible support system. I still had all these amazing moments that weren't going to be tarnished by my legal battle. And so I felt, one, that it would be a disservice and disrespectful to not give it my best shot to fight through it, but to also realize this is a bigger problem. It is way bigger than me. And it does happen to other people. You look at Kate Spade, you look at Halston, it's Bobby Brown.
Yeah.
And every single one of their cases is very unique in itself. But that made me feel like, okay, I'm not special. Like, this is obviously a very extreme scenario that's happening, but this is a systemic problem in which talent is oftentimes put under really broad contracts or one-sided contracts that they outperform or don't fully understand. And then they're later in a scenario where they're having to be tethered to this standard that is they've outgrown, basically.
Yeah. I know. You don't need another email clogging up your inbox. I have way too many unread emails right now. I could show you my inbox, but I won't. Girlboss Daily is a free, must-read career newsletter delivered to your inbox Monday to Friday. Stay on top of what's happening in the world of work as it unfolds and get helpful tips on everything from navigating layoffs to productivity hacks and becoming a better leader. No spam, no junk, only the most curated content, I promise. Join over 100,000 ambitious women who are finding success on their own terms with the link in the show notes or sign up at newsletter.girlboss.com. If you were in a room with somebody that's a content creator or somebody that has a personality and they are about to sign a contract, like, is there a call out that you would have of, like, obviously have a lawyer look at this, but like, is it about the duration of the contract? Is it about name, image, likeness? Is it all of the above?
Yes, all of the above. And now I have so many red flags. Anytime the word perpetuity, worldwide rights, anytime your name and likeness is used, the term of the contract, the scope, especially if you're an influencer, you have to look at the scope of the project. Anytime you're signing a contract, there is language in there that is, it's set to protect the business that's likely giving the opportunity or bringing the brand. But that doesn't mean you don't have leverage and an ability to ask the questions. Like, any contract should be able to hold your questions and concerns. Mm-hmm. And if they can't, it might not be the right opportunity. Mm-hmm. But terms are probably one of the biggest, because the reality of my contract was so long that when you have all this time, so much happens. And so if you're not treating it like software, your contracts where you have to update and upgrade and revisit. Yeah. I mean, I'm even doing a prenup right now with my fiance, and we're like, do you want to revisit this in like 3 years and then 6 years and 9, and it's just about setting your own laws. Otherwise, someone else will decide and interpret it for you.
When I sold House of Wise, I was the founder of House of Wise, but sold it, and I sold full ownership of it. I had a stake in it and I was on the board. I did not realize that I didn't specify my name, image, likeness, and how they were going to continue to use my story to build the brand. So then I had to get a lawyer to say, no, I'm not operating this anymore. I'm not even in the day-to-day operations. You don't get to put my name with my kids on stories and stuff. So I think that, like, there's such a spectrum of how this needs to be thought about. And I think you've done such an incredible job taking what, from the outside looking in, like, somebody could have easily just been like, you couldn't even use your legal birth name. How did you, there had to have been some tough days. Like, what kind of kept you going in that time?
Staying just close to my passion of creating. Mm. And knowing from a very honest standpoint that it had brought me so much joy doing that. Mm-hmm. And it's rare to find something that you love doing at a young age in life and then get to pursue it. And then to have lost it, there was obviously a part of me that took an extreme accountability of, look, you got yourself into this pickle, and now here it is. And so I just realized there were other ways to create. There were other ways to still communicate with women through design. I went into shoes, mm-hmm. and I just decided to see it from a place of optionality and pivoting, and knowing that this is going to be temporary. We're going to still fight and do the best we can, but to also just accept that part of this has actually happened. Yeah. And there's only so much control you can have over the scenario, but your credibility and your relationships are things that withstand scandals and setbacks. And so if you're constantly operating from a place of realness and honesty in what you do, I do think, again, that compounds. That's where that ambition comes in.
Mm. So you've now reclaimed your name.
Yes.
Congrats. And returned with a new collection, Twice Upon a Time. What does this comeback mean to you emotionally beyond just like the business side?
It's so hard to put it into words because there's a part of me that feels like it was existential, like what had happened. And there's this deep sigh of just relief of feeling like I belong here and I'm back here. And the idea that, oh, if you love something and you let it go and then it returns, so I get this feeling of real devotion. And I'm just so proud of like the community that I have, because it's really been this incredible commitment to just getting through it day by day and doing the best you can, and knowing, especially in the founders community, in the entrepreneuristas, it's like there is a real known fact that you're going to have setbacks and you're going to fail at certain things, and that you're going to learn those lessons along the way, and that it is this constant in motion approach that you have to take as an entrepreneur. There's never really that like, I'm here and I'm up here and I'm staying here. Like that would probably be boring anyway, So.
And I think that there's such a disservice to women when we try to pretend that there aren't setbacks.
Yes, it is.
And so I'm so appreciative. I remember reading your, when you would give the updates and the stories, and it's like no one else was giving that level of granularity so that you feel like, gosh, I need to I remember I was like going through contracts and I'm like, nope, I'm going to like triple check this. So what boundaries do you have now in business?
I have a lot. And I would say I've gotten better at saying no, spent a big career saying yes to the dress, and then had to say yes to the mess, which is a fun little joke I like to use. But yeah, it's just been such a journey. And now I've really come to appreciate boundaries, and not in a way that makes me feel like I'm combative or that I have this like chip on my shoulder, because I think a part of me that broke or died was like a death to part of my ego. And it allowed me to actually be a little more like have humility in everything that I do, because everything is temporary, and you could be in a scenario that you don't even realize later and then lose so much, especially financially, and then you lose time, and there's so much you start to question. And so now I think about boundaries as this really healthy thing, and doing it very early, setting those expectations early, having the difficult conversations up front so that there's real clarity. And like contracts are for clarity, they're not for conflict. That's how you should set it up.
I wanted to end on, you started a Girl You Might Know Foundation. So tell us a little bit more, and what gaps are you trying to fill with that you wish existed when you were starting out?
Definitely education, and just providing low bono and pro bono resources to young creators when they're signing their first contracts, because there's such a deficit in or like an exchange of an unbalance of power, I should say. And you don't know what you don't know. And now I'm just so grateful that there are a lot of resources in the AI world, like Anthropic, that you can just throw the contract in, give me plain language, just so I have a wherewithal when I go to a lawyer. I know a few things I can ask, maybe cut down on some of those bills. But we started the nonprofit mainly because it is a problem throughout multiple industries, and you see constantly again and again artists wanting that support, wanting capital investors, wanting a structure or economics behind what they're doing. And that partnership is so important. And there should be a balance of power starting off, or at least an exchange of real, genuine potential. And just knowing that if you do not just get ahead of valuing yourself, somebody else will. And so the nonprofit is in service of that. It's advocacy, and it's also knowledge.
Love that. Okay. Let's do a quick rapid fire.
Okay.
A bridal trend you're loving right now?
Contrasts. So something like structured with like a whimsy or soft skirt.
Love. I just got married a couple months ago, and I'm like, okay. A bridal trend you're so over?
Oh, over producing the content on your wedding day, like having a shot list and having like all these transitions and things you have to get that day. It is too much. Like just get all the content, have somebody fly on the wall, but enjoy the day. Because if you're like timing it out, you're just going to eat into the most special day of your life.
It's really good advice. I used to tell couples to stand in a corner and watch your wedding for like a good 5 minutes together and just take it in like a movie, because it literally, it goes so fast.
Fastest day ever, right?
Literally.
Yeah. Good advice.
The most underrated detail in a wedding dress.
The veil. It's such a moment. And I always get so excited when the bride asks, like, oh, should I wear a veil? And I'm like, are unicorns magical? Absolutely, you should. It'll be a moment and you'll probably take it off anyway, but just get the moment.
Get the moment.
Yeah.
I had big gloves and that was like my walk down the aisle.
Chic. Very chic.
A red flag in a contract that most people ignore, which you kind of touched on. But
scope, terms, the word perpetuity, worldwide rights, name, image, and likeness used.
Yeah. A green flag that you look for in a business partner.
Clarity. It's the easiest thing in the world. If somebody's talking and you don't understand what they're articulating, it's hot air.
One thing you'd go back and tell your 25-year-old self.
I don't think anything at this point, because some lessons were just not teachable for me. I had to experience them.
Yeah, it's so real. And I think that that's such a wonderful thing for people to hear in their 20s, that like, you just got to live and you're going to make mistakes and you're going to learn from them. And that experience just gets you to where you are later in life. Okay. A moment you're proud of that no one saw.
The devotion of my fiance in everything that I went through.
It's beautiful. What having it all actually looks like to you right now?
To me personally, I think it's just owning my story. Every nook and cranny and cringe moment, and just objectively saying this is having it all, is just owning your story. And that question itself, I think, is so subjective for people, because it's a lot of times assumed it's like the career and the kids and the, the house and all these things. And I think it's really making it for yourself, what that means to you.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want it all. Maybe you just want a few things, you know?
I don't want it all at once. That's for sure.
Too much work.
Too much work. All right. That's it for today's episode of Ambition 2.0. Huge thanks to Hayley for coming here to Entreprenista Weekend. I'm your host, Amanda Goetz. And if anything jumped out at you, we'd love to hear from you. Drop it in the comments below. Like, share, all the things. We will see you next time.